For every beloved Dexter character, there's also one hated by everyone, starting with one of the most selfish characters, Joseph Quinn. I can't count how many comments I saw online about Quinn being nothing more than a bad replacement for James Dokes. After Dokes died at the end of season 2, someone needed to fill up the role of Dexter's suspicious co-worker, and Joey did his job really well, almost too well. The main issue that many fans have with Quinn is his constant nosiness when it comes to Dexter's business. Dexter's the main character. We support him and hate when someone tries to get in his way of serving justice. And that's exactly what Quinn does, without most of the personality that made Dokes good. For Dokes, it was a matter of justice being served and clearing his name. Quinn, on the other hand, only investigated Dexter because he had a vendetta and the whole thing came off as a petty act. And in season 5, episode 5, First Blood, when he brought in a PI to really dig into Dexter's life, fans just wanted him gone.
A job for you.
Really? And what would that be?
Looking into someone.
Who?
Guy I work with.
Also, one of the worst things about Quinn is that he was selfish and did some pretty horrible things, such as stealing from a crime scene and taking bribes from a criminal. Moving on to number 5 on the most loved list, we have a character so well loved that everyone agrees that he was killed off far too soon. Love him, hate him, it wouldn't change the fact that Sergeant Dokes owned every scene he was in. He was a brilliant man who saw through Dexter's facade and pursued relentlessly. He had a strong sense of honor and justice. Despite his tough demeanor, Dokes had a complex backstory with personal struggles, including a failed marriage and a history of violence, which added depth to his character and made him more relatable. His tension with Dexter was unmatched. Very few antagonists could come close to having the kind of relationship he had with Dexter. Towards the end of his life, he understood and respected Dexter's work, even though he didn't agree with his methods. Fans were disappointed when he died in season 2, episode 12, The British Invasion. He'll forever be remembered for his fearless nature and need to stand up to evil. And let's not forget his penchant for iconic one-liners.
Surprise,
For number 4 on the most hated list, we have someone who absolutely no one likes. Dr. Vogel is hated for single-handedly destroying Dexter's life before he could even start living it. Harry Morgan, Dexter's foster father, raised Dexter in the strangest way possible. For the first 7 seasons, fans had one major question on their minds. Why would an upstanding homicide cop think it would be a great idea to teach his kid to be a killer instead of trying to curb his violent instincts? Why wouldn't he seek professional help for his son? With the introduction of Dr. Vogel in Season 8, Episode 1, A Beautiful Day, it's revealed that Harry did seek professional help, he just sought it from the wrong person. Without even meeting Dexter, she diagnosed him as a psychopath with no possible redemption except in the killing of other murderers. Because of Vogel, Dexter didn't have a normal childhood.
I know almost everything about you, Dexter. Not just because I heard it from your father, but because I helped create you.
It was just despicable when she showed up, without being mentioned in any prior season, and started talking to Dexter about how she created him and how Harry trained him under her guidance.
Eventually we realized that hunting animals wasn't going to satiate you, so we decided that you could be taught to kill.
You're saying you came up with the code?
Her all-knowing attitude pissed fans off to no degree, especially since she's not as smart as she thinks she is. For example, when she tried to take on Zach Hamilton under her wing, Dexter pointed out the absurdity, but she insisted and told him he had no proof, and we know how that ended. Her character was not very exciting, and beyond the revelation that she was the one behind Harry's code, she really didn't do much beyond making dinner. While her plotline was vital in helping us understand Harry's actions and Dexter's upbringing, she still was not a fan favorite. Number 4 on the most loved list is a literal teddy bear and is loved for many reasons. Angel Batista is an extremely lovable character and relatable character. Throughout the series, he felt like a protective big brother to everyone, especially Dexter. He was compassionate, genuine, and had a strong moral compass. One thing that made him stand out was his need to serve justice no matter the circumstances involved. For example, in the altercation between Dokes and Jacques Bayard in Season 1, Episode 9, Father Knows Best. When Dokes and Batista are driving on a bridge, Dokes suddenly tells Batista to stop the car. Dokes chases him until they get under the bridge. Before Batista could get there, he heard 2 gunshots. He's worried about Dokes, but as he gets closer and sees the man unmoving on the ground, he worries that Dokes has done something he shouldn't have. Blood spatter analysis showed that the man couldn't have shot first. Batista initially maintained the story of hearing the man's go off first before Dokes, but later on confesses that he heard Dokes' gun first. It was later revealed that the man was called Jacques Bayard, a member of a Haitian paramilitary group who committed war crimes. Dokes had recognized him from one of their missions and wanted to apprehend him, but things went south. For most of the episode, Batista struggled with the guilt of covering up for Dokes. He even confronted Dokes and told him he'd understand if he shot when Jacques pulled a gun on him first.
Yeah. Except, I could have sworn that I heard your 9mm go off before the 38.
When he found out that Jacques had done terrible things, it was too late because he had already given his report. Even when he was called a rat, he didn't mind because he knew he did the right thing. He was a good cop with a positive attitude. Unlike this next character who made it to the number 3 spot on the most hated list for a wide variety of reasons. Maria LaGuerta. Not only was she a homewrecker, an opportunist, and a bully, but LaGuerta was one of the most infuriating characters in Dexter, and for valid reasons. Starting with her incessant belittling and bullying of Deborah Morgan. She gave Deb no breaks and made all of her smart ideas seem like they didn't matter. In Season 1, Episode 1, Dexter, when Deb brings up the possibility of the new killer in town using a refrigerated truck, LaGuerta completely shuts her down and makes her look stupid in front of everyone. And as if we couldn't hate her more, in Season 2, Episode 4, See-Through, a new calculating and manipulative side of Maria is revealed. Even years after the episode aired, it's still talked about as her worst moment. In this episode, Esme Pascal, the woman who replaced LaGuerta as lieutenant, tries to get Masuka to test a shirt for a scent. It's her fiance Bertrand's shirt, and she had been suspecting him of cheating for a while. She says the shirt smells like another woman, and when Masuka tells her he can't confirm that, she...
Look, I told you, the smell isn't really...
It smells like another woman. I can smell it. Why can't you?
Maria taking her out of the situation looks like a girl looking out for another girl, right? But no. We find out later in the episode that LaGuerta is a two-faced woman who causes Esme's breakdown in the first place by sleeping with her fiancé. Esme's suspicions are correct, and it's messed up that the one who was there to comfort her was the one making her life hell in the first place.
You get your job back, and now you through with me?
Oh, don't play the victim.
You are one cold-hearted bitch, I'll tell you that.
Cold-hearted doesn't even cover it. In short, LaGuerta was a woman who crawled her way to the top through devious means and was willing to keep her position through even worse means. She had made a name for herself in the boys' club that was law enforcement and didn't want any other woman to take her down. I'm sure you've been waiting to hear his name. Number 3 on the most loved list would have to be Vince Masuka. Masuka is undeniably a fan favorite. He is funny, easygoing, and not overly ambitious and self-serving like some of the other characters. He is a genuinely good guy, a bit perverted, yes, but an overall good person. He brightened every scene with his easygoing personality and unique laugh. Also, his dirty jokes made many people laugh. One of his best moments was in Season 5, Episode 6, Everything is Illuminated, where he gave us his hilarious autoerotic mummification theory.
I know exactly what happened. 2 words. Autoerotic mummification.
His gestures and demonstrations as he spoke were so unique to him that we couldn't help but laugh. Only Masuka could have pulled off a scene like that. Back to the most hated category. If Maria was hated for being too cold and calculating, the second most hated character is the direct opposite. Erratic, wild, and utterly insane, Lila West deserves all the hate she gets. She's introduced to us in Season 2, Episode 3, An Inconvenient Lie, as this benevolent sponsor who wants Dexter to open up to her. She knows his heroin addiction story is a load of crap and tries to find the real darkness inside him. She encourages it and accepts it so Dexter feels seen. And he hadn't felt seen since the death of his brother in Season 1. So to him, Lila was refreshing. Until she started showing how crazy she was. At first, it was relatively minor issues like ending Dexter's relationship with Rita and puncturing her tires so Dexter would be forced to come and rescue her. Then she framed Batista for rape and said she'd drop the charges if Dexter came back to her. The woman simply had no boundaries. But when she kidnapped Rita's kids and left them and Dexter in a burning building, fans were just horrified. I would find it hard to believe if anyone was sad about her death later in the series.
Don't do this.
You taught me to accept what I am.
But coming back to the loved list, Dexter's sister Deb is undeniably the favorite character of the majority of Dexter fans. Initially, she started out as a whiny girl who could barely process things without her brother's input, but she quickly grew from that and became a capable cop in her own right. It was wonderful watching her mature into a skilled investigator. Her undying loyalty to Dexter definitely pulled at our heartstrings. Above all else, Deb was Dexter's biggest fan, and even after finding out he was the Bay Harbor Butcher, her loyalty didn't wane.
It's only a matter of time before we get called back here. Go home.
I don't want to be alone. I don't want you to be alone.
Despite her tough exterior, we all know Deb was a softie who pursued justice even at the risk of her own life. Not many cops have that quality, so that made her stand out. For example, when she took care of Tony Tucci in Season 1, Episode 5, Love American Style. She got him to face his trauma from the ice truck killer incident by blindfolding him, and you could tell that it helped him. And let's not forget the complimentary hooker she sent to him. Yes, Deb had her flaws and issues and made questionable dating choices, but she was definitely the fans' favorite. But even with all the hatred directed at the most hated characters we've covered so far, it's still nothing compared to how much people hate this next character. No one liked Hannah McKay. One fan on Reddit commented that they skip all her scenes. Now, that's a real hater and for good reason. From the moment she entered Dexter's life, things just began to fall apart. The fact that Dexter was obsessed with her didn't even make any sense. She wasn't the first attractive female he had strapped to his table with plastic wrap. So what was it about this reckless, bland character with no personality, no charisma, and no redeeming qualities that just had Dexter tripping over himself and making mistakes? Why sleep with her when he could have just ended her life in the first place and be done with it? Apart from being a boring serial poisoner, the fact that Dexter didn't end her for almost killing Deb is insane. Especially when he killed his own brother to save Deb. Yet all Hannah in the end got was a trip outside the country with a job as Harrison's guardian. No wonder fans hated her. Moving on from the most hated character in the show. The show's most loved character just had to be Dexter, and it's no surprise. Dexter fans have a complicated relationship with him. On one hand, we want to love this vigilante who is hell-bent on serving justice. On the other hand, the killing rituals make us feel bad for rooting for another serial killer. And to be honest, without the code, that's exactly what Dexter is, just another regular serial killer. When it comes to Dexter's personality, we love his wit, awkward nature, and his sense of humor. His need to defend the innocent is so endearing, especially in a world where the guilty often go scot-free. Another thing we loved about Dexter was his gradual transition from emotionless to having his heart full of love for a couple of people, starting with Rita and her kids. Initially, she was just a way to appear normal to the world, but eventually his love for her grew, and by extension, her kids. With the birth of Harrison, we saw a whole new side to Dexter. The evolution of his relationship shows remarkable character development. His bond with Deb, his role as Harrison's father, his marriage to Rita, and his various romantic relationships show his gradual transformation from someone who mimics human connection to someone who genuinely experiences it. Each relationship peels back another layer of his humanity. And this is why we love Dexter so much. He didn't become a ruthless killer like Brian, his brother, or the Trinity Killer. He maintained his humanity and relatability, and that's why we will always love him.